After seeing the comments in the last video, you guys brought up a lot of good points. I should explain why I'm doing this. So, this is a story a long time ago in a galaxy far away when I actually used my personal truck for work. So I was coming home one day. I had some material that I got from my work. So I got quite a few sheets of this nice stainless steel, a few sheets of glass. I was taking it all because I wanted the material. I figure it's a pretty decent size and I could use it. I had just a plasma cutter at the time, but I thought, you know what, I could make some cool stuff out of it. A lot of free product that didn't take up too much space, and I could make some neat stuff with it. So I loaded up in my truck, and at the time I was worried that it was a bit too much because the truck felt heavy coming home. So here I am driving home, probably about an hour into the drive. I'm going up a really big hill on the highway and everyone slows down because it's raining for about 2 minutes, and then speed picks up to about 100 again. Right when we slow down, the truck doesn't speed back up again. So I'm climbing up this hill, it's raining, and I'm not accelerating, and the engine's going really loud. So at the time, I thought, oh, I must be slipping or something. The tires must be losing traction, because I'm going uphill. I loaded up the truck with all my tools and this stuff. I can't let off the pedal. So right when we get down the hill, I realize the truck's doing the same thing, and then I can't go above 40. So I take the next exit, and then I'm just screwing around with the truck, trying to figure out how to get home without using the highway, because I can't drive more than 40. So I finally get home. I find out that my transmission is leaking fluid. So I got transmission cooler lines. So how they work is you got two lines. They go all the way underneath the truck, and then they go to flex lines, and then they go to the rad. And they have those little flex lines because the engine transmission, they're all on these rubber pads, and metal doesn't like to bend back and forth a lot. So I take a look at it. I drive up to Part Source in my area, and I just buy the metal lines, and I buy some O-ring or some ring clamps. Now, since I got a GM transmission, they have a special kind of flare. So a normal flare on a line is a double flare, like that, and you just get a special nut that threads on, and like the flare seals it. GM, the wonderful guys they are, they made a flare that seals with an O-ring, so it's just like that, and you got this little O-ring that seals. So basically I had to just splice all the lines. So once I patched a hole that was about here, and then I just replaced all the lines up to the flex lines, I thought, okay, I'm done. I fill it up with transmission fluid, same problem. I found out that the lines up here, they're also rotted. I thought, okay, I'm done. So I bought into 5 gallons of transmission fluid, put quite a few of them in, probably spread it all along the roads for good measure. And at this point I have to admit that, okay, something's wrong with the transmission. So I start going online. I look at the common problems. I don't mention that this was probably, in part, at the very least, caused by the fact that things that have oil in it really don't like not having oil. So I found out online that, actually I have them, give me a sec. So there's a few problems that are pretty standard that go wrong with the transmission. One, you got this band here. This band, it goes over the drum of the transmission and it basically crimps it on. Apparently this slips. A lot of guys, they give a bigger band on it, but I didn't buy a new bigger one. But like apparently this friction material just wears off, and that's a problem. So the second problem is in your transmission. You got all these. So these guys are called frictions, and then the other part is, I only have one. These are your steels. So another thing that happens is this is all just clutch material. It's supposed to be, it's like a ceramic, it's supposed to grip. Because how this works is you have a spline on the outside that goes into the inside of a drum, and you have a spline on the inside. You only have like 5 or 6 of these a gear, so like these teeth are really thin. You only have like 5 times that thickness of that gear driving your whole truck. So basically what happens is these guys just smash together and then they move as one unit, which is pretty neat. What happens, sometimes they get worn out like this, but oddly enough, only 1 or 2 of these were actually significantly worn, and usually they wear because of something else that caused it. Another problem is apparently you got these pistons and the seals break loose, and then you get partial pressure and basically oil leaks past. You're not pushing all the way on these clutches, and like these don't wear. I'm amazed at that a truck with 500,000 kilometers on it, like all of the clutches in all of the gears except for this guy, I could not tell the difference between new and old. But if you're only pressing with half force, if these guys can be kind of pressed together and spin independently, like that's gonna wear out your friction material right quick. The other thing that I didn't actually fix, apparently one of the valves, it causes a check engine light to come on because how they make it. And a lot of people just find ways to bypass that valve and just have it always open. So I find all of this information online, and I go like, okay, I don't want to spend $2,000 to get someone to repair my truck or my transmission. I spent $2,000 on the whole truck. I don't want another used vehicle. You get rid of one used vehicle for another used vehicle, and you're just inheriting more problems. And if you get a new vehicle, I probably could have afforded it, but I didn't want to. So I decided, okay, I'll try and fix the transmission myself, or I'll scrap the truck. So that leads to some research that's somewhat helpful. I try reaching out to a couple of transmission places, and they tell me, okay, we'll take apart your transmission for you and look at what the problem is and then sell you the kit. It'll be $800 to take apart the transmission. Now, for $800, that's not really saving you any money. With me spending $300 on the rebuild kit, which I might have been able to get cheaper, especially because of duty. You know, you're not doing yourself any favors. You're going up to the $1,300 to rebuild it. So I go in blind. I look online. I go to a place that sells transmission upgrades, and they gave me a kit for everything except for the steels. And then I bought steels. Now, I read online, I thought I'd get 5 if I bought them. Apparently, you buy individuals, and it tells you need to buy 5 of these. Which, if I was in a calm and clear mind, I probably would have understood that better. But I was just trying to do this as cheaply as possible without missing anything. And yeah. So, now I'm fully committed to this because I spent the money on the online rebuild kit. I'm driving around my sister's car because I'm too stubborn to do anything else. Because if I rent a car, I'm not doing myself any favors. This has gone on for a year now. I borrowed my sister's car for a good 2 months. Yeah, that's probably the cost to get the transmission fixed when all's said and done. Then I have the joys of trying to actually take it out. And I wish I had some decent footage of this. So that's when some fun things started happening. I thought about putting the car on 4 jack stands. Tiny little guys. Like, I have it on these jack stands, right? I have it all the way up. I have my buddy trying to help me. We're trying to get all the bolts off. Obviously everything's seized on. It's a 20-year-old truck. My buddy's really more of one of those strong like bulls, but today he decided to be strong like bull, dumb like hockey stick. He got a nice wrench, take off a bolt I couldn't, and he just frickin' reefed on it. And he reefed on it. So this is the truck. Right? So you got the truck right here. He reefed on it in the short ways direction. It's a lot easier to tip something over if you go this way versus this way. We both had good enough reaction time. We both just laid flat. But the truck fell on the both of us. And I now have 5 of these jacks because one of these is a little pancake now. So that was a fun part of the prequel. And then I thought, a couple of these bolts still aren't coming out. I tried oiling. I tried this, I tried that. I bought a couple of little ghetto torches from Amazon. And I had a propane tank, so I figured I'd try and hook it up. You know, it wasn't working great because it's an oxy torch and it's a Chinese knockoff. And then I scared the crap out of the neighbors because these barbs basically aren't even here. So while I'm under the truck desperately trying to heat the bolt, it just comes right off. Big hose full of propane just whipping out everywhere. Luckily it didn't light, so it wasn't that scary. It's a couple of good lessons in safety were learned that day. But eventually we got this thing apart, and then came the fact of it sitting in my living room for quite a while longer until I finally brewed up the courage to take this thing apart. Now when I took this thing apart, I had no idea what I was getting into. I had no idea what was wrong with the thing. All throughout taking it apart, I was getting nervous because aside from this, I wasn't seeing anything wrong with it. When we saw in the first video when I had the stuck ball, I didn't know at the time, but this is the valve separator plate. I'm gonna go in a lot of better detail with all this stuff in the rebuild part of the video. You see this hole? It's got a dent around it. It's where one of the balls go. It's supposed to be the same size as these little guys. What happened, probably doesn't help that it was low fluid. That ball just keeps that's the second gear, and that just keeps getting bashed in that hole every time you change in and out of second gear. If that's stuck in there, that means this whole plate's garbage. And basically you don't have second gear, from what I understand, if that ball's just stuck in that plate. I didn't know this when I was taking it out, but luckily before I got it back together I was able to get in contact with a guy up north, and he was able to get me a new plate. So for the first part of the video, I know I wasn't really that thorough, but in my opinion it was all kind of garbage footage anyway. So basically what we got accomplished was a lot of cleanup. You got the transmission. So basically what we got accomplished in the first video, we took off the cover, we took off the filter, we took off the valve body, which is basically like the computer. Another big rectangle that's got all these different ports. And it basically sets where the hydraulic fluid goes. And then the separator plate, where we had all the balls, that has the ports that go from the valve body to the transmission. That's basically where we left off. Not a lot of parts that I actually needed to worry about were there. A lot of stuff that needed to be taken apart before it actually gets to the interesting parts, like the gears. I also didn't have the best footage because this was the first time I was using the camera. At this point I'm pretty sure I was rambling 5 minutes ago, but I hope this is a better introduction to why I'm doing this. And anyways, thanks for watching.